This video is going to be my belated reaction to the Ravens' 18-16 loss to the Steelers in Week 11. A disappointing game, a disappointing result that drops the Ravens to 7-4, now 2 full games behind the Steelers in the AFC North race. This really could have been any number of games from the last couple of years where we've seen many of these combined elements pop up at different times, often against this team in the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it could have just as easily been against some other team that we think we're more talented in. The Ravens leave points on the field, commit penalties on pretty much every play, apparently. I mean, how else do you describe 12 penalties with two others that were offsetting? You had an unbelievable interception by Steelers rookie inside linebacker Peyton Wilson. I'm still not sure how that happened. I'm still not sure that it is an interception. It certainly looked like one in live speed. The instant replays, the slow down replays, almost make you go back and forth. But that was part of 3 turnovers on the day, all 3 of which led to Steelers field goals. We somehow still only lost 18-16 on the road on a day when Lamar Jackson did not play very well at all. Let's get that out of the way. For large stretches of the game, I thought he played very poorly. The RPO situation, our RPOs have been ineffective, I think, for weeks. I don't know whose fault it is. I suspect or wonder if we're not predictable on some level or in some way, that teams are able to react to it and respond to it so quickly and basically shut off all layers of it or all elements, which is so unusual, so weird. I don't know if sometimes we should just be handing it off. I don't know if we're predictable about which part of the field we're running RPOs in or if it's a formation thing. Lamar still had some incredible moments. Of course, that's what he's going to do pretty much every time he steps on the football field. And unfortunately, the most amazing one, the scramble. I think that someone got his face mask a little bit. To me, there's 6 penalties out there on the Steelers that don't get called. That I even think Charles Davis, the announcer, noticed it because at one point he said something like, "Oh, they're letting him play today." He's like, "Have you been watching this game? How often we've been penalized?" But in any case, Lamar's biggest play, scramble, got out of there multiple times, got out of pressure multiple times, moved around to the right. I think in the fourth quarter, hits Zay Flowers in the face mask. And Zay's been having a great season. It's just unbelievable the set of circumstances that had to occur for the Steelers to get a 2-point win at home on a day when they somehow controlled time of possession by 13 minutes but got outgained, only averaged 4.1 yards per play. I think got away with 3 or 4 egregious holds in the secondary, very few of which were called. Now, credit to the Steelers' defense. They played very fast and very physical. They attacked downhill and at times were able to shut off running lanes for Derrick Henry. But you also have to say that once penalties are not being called on you early in games, you recognize that and you say, hey, let's keep going. Let's push the envelope. DeShon Elliott drags Isaiah Likely down on a one-on-one up the right seam. Literally drags him down in full view of everyone in the field, and there's no call at all. I think we did get one replay of it from the behind view that, to me, just confirmed what we thought we saw live speed. Porter grabbed on a 3rd down against Zay Flowers twice, in fact, on the same play. And I don't know about you, I was just waiting for a flag to show up. None was there. By the end of the first quarter, if you didn't recognize that we weren't going to be able to play football on an even field yesterday, then you didn't understand what you were watching. There was an imbalance in the flags that had been called to that point. Yeah, sure, the Ravens do hold at the offensive line at times, no doubt. But so do the Steelers. It was just rarely enforced. There was a 2-possession sequence where it was enforced, and then after that, they never called holds on 74 again. He does it on pretty much every play. But in any case, Lamar, like I said, did not play very well today. Missed throws. I think one of his missed throws, he sees DeShon Elliott kind of breaking or near the tight end. I think it's Andrews up the left seam. And I believe he accounts for it. So I think he's trying to get the ball away from the DB, and that kind of moves that target area, makes the miss look worse than it really is. The whole lineman downfield situation is so difficult to evaluate until you see the all-22 or the end zone angle film. The Steelers ran that same exact scheme, mind you, on basically play action concepts, screen to the running back. They ran it 4 times in the first half. They also ran a tight end screen in the first half, or second half, excuse me, and it wasn't called once. You have to give credit to the Steelers defense for disrupting some of our plays in that manner, but I think you can already tell by the tone of what I've said so far. I don't think this is a very talented football team that we're facing from an offensive standpoint. After watching the Ravens match up against the Steelers, I even feel more comfortable facing them a second or even a third time. And I know that that sounds crazy. The Ravens just lost. But if you're someone if you're another team in the AFC and you're an AFC playoff team and you're going to host someone in the divisional round, well, first of all, I don't think the Steelers make it that far just based off talent level on offense. But let's just say they do. Which team are you more scared of dealing with if you're the Buffalo Bills, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs? I don't think it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin deserves a lot of credit for getting that team to 8-2, but that's not a 13-4 or 14-3 type team from a talent perspective. They got one weapon on offense. They really remind me of the 2020 Steelers. Their offensive coordinator knows the type of play that he's going to get from his quarterback. Look at the play calling at times. The play calling by an offensive coordinator at times kind of will tell you what they think of their quarterback. Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson are always kind of pushing the issue. They're very hungry in their play calling and their decision making, meaning they expect Lamar to be able to execute a ton of different concepts, and he does so for the most part. Look at what the Steelers do with Russell Wilson. They're almost safeguarding the game. They're not winning games like this because of Russell Wilson. I think they're winning games like this one yesterday in spite of Russell Wilson. Now, Pickens had 8 catches for 89 yards. He's the one weapon that they've got from a matchup standpoint. Was it ever more obvious that at times we needed to get Brandon Stephens off the field than when you watch Tre'Davious White not give up a catch against him? Other than Pickens, that's not an incredibly talented offense. Are they very tough? Sure. Smart as a coaching staff? Yes, absolutely. The style of football that they're playing, that they're committed to, has worked for 70 or 80 years. Don't turn it over. Commit to the run game. Play good to great defense at times. Be very physical on defense. Do you push or toe or maybe stomp over the rules at times? Sure, on defense. It's worked. That style of play has worked forever, and it always will until they change the fabric of the game so much that you're just not allowed to compete at all on the defensive side. With a quarterback like Russell Wilson, they don't want to throw the ball 40 times. I don't think they trust him. Now, they did get to 36 passes on Sunday, but guess what? 4 of them are play-action running back screens. 1 of them was a play-action screen to the tight end. That's the one that Adisa Isaac knocked down. They had a wide receiver bubble screen early as well. So all told, you're talking about 6 screens, safe plays. Additional to that, I think they had 3 downfield shots to Pickens that are safe. Well, 2 downfield shots, and then the fade that Tre'Davious White was able to break up. I think we lost to a team Sunday that has a lower ceiling than us, and it should frustrate you to no end. It certainly does me, because much of it, in my opinion, was preventable. So let's start here with the Steelers' style of play and crediting them for committing to it and shortening the game, understanding that if they get stops, particularly early, but generally they're shutting teams down in the second half, they can shorten the game with the run game and win games in the manner that they did yesterday, which was 18-16. They ran the ball 34 times for 122 yards. So some of that was game situation, trying to close out the game, which they did. The lack of I have to digress a moment. The lack of awareness by our defense on that 2nd and 10 run by Justin Fields is astounding to me. I cannot believe that an NFL defense can't look at a quarterback being subbed in on 2nd and 10, where the running back is, and understand why he's in the game. We're incapable of defending formations. We're incapable of it. Even on a day when the defense played very well, and you got to give Zach Orr and those guys credit. But I have some thoughts about that I think might be a little bit even more negative than I've been so far, because it could be could be a result of the lack of talent that the Steelers actually have. Anyway, Pittsburgh ran 34 times for 122, like I said. We ran 19 times for 124. Now, Lamar did have a 25-yard run in the fourth quarter. Henry had a 31-yard run. So our other 17 carries only netted 68 yards. But unless I did my math wrong, that's still 4 yards a carry. Let's call those 17 carries our non-productive rushing attempts. It's still 4 yards per run. That's better than the Steelers' overall 3.6 on the day. Or I guess 3.8 if you don't count their kneel downs. What I'm saying is they're committed to their style of play, and that benefits them when they go to make decisions in game because it's their platform that they're starting from. Hey, how are we going to win this game? We're going to win this game 21-17, or we're going to win this game. I'm sure they didn't think 18-16, such a weird score. On the other hand, we, as the Ravens offensive staff, we seem to think that the run game has to work immediately, meaning on a 1st and 10 run, if we only get 3 yards, we abandon it altogether on that sequence of plays. 2nd and 7 for the Steelers is still a run play. Possibility. It could be a play action pass. It could be a play action screen. It could be a throw to Pickens. The point is, it is retained in our usage, potential usage on the field, and defenses know that. Once we get to 2nd and 7 in some of the key situations, we're done running the football. And I think once we get a new series of downs, that pattern seems to start over. I have more on that in a little bit. We obviously missed the 2 field goals with Tucker, a 47-yarder and a 50-yarder in the first quarter. That's the formula, or that's been part of the equation in recent years. When we lose games to teams that we think we shouldn't in terms of talent, is that Tucker misses 1 or 2 long field goals. The Steelers have a better record than us so far by 2 games at this point. I'm clearly aware of that. But they're not more talented on offense and at quarterback, obviously. Those 2 misses hurt, but in my opinion, they're not all Tucker's fault. I would say they are evidential points or exhibits 100 and 101 in the John Harbaugh book called How to Lose Close Football Games. And I'll get to that a little bit more later. I talked about the RPOs being predictable. I don't know how. I don't know why. But somehow teams seem to know when we're running these RPOs. And at least in one case, it led to linemen being called downfield, meaning the defense closes off something to Lamar. I don't know how we're not giving the football on 2 of them, to be honest with you. I mean, to me, that if the edge defender is in the window for the throw out to the flats, he can't possibly be running the running back down from behind. So if it truly is an RPO, 2 of them are absolute misreads by Lamar, in my opinion. Now, I will say this. The NFL refs are very strict with their interpretation with us. I'm all for that interpretation. As a defensive guy, I actually remember years ago, 20 years ago, when the refs at every level called that all the time. And suddenly at the envelope started to be pushed a little bit, especially in college, and referees bent. They stopped calling it with such a stark interpretation. Like I said, it used to be called immediately. Then it was a yard downfield. And at some point, it got to 2 to 3 yards downfield, especially in college. Go watch the college game. It's pretty unbelievable. Pretty unbelievable. They've tried to tighten up in recent years. Yesterday, as I record this, it seemed like the rule set for the Ravens on screens and RPOs was straight out of 2007. And the rule set for the Steelers was 2024. I thought Lamar missed some throws early. I talked about that. I have to cover one situation, well, 2 of them, that I wonder who gets the blame. And we'll never know whether it's Todd Monken, whether it's Lamar, whether it's coming from John Harbaugh. So what % blame these guys deserve in these 2 situations, I don't know. But it's systemic for me, in my opinion, because it's happened so many times over the course of the year. So these situations where we get down to like the 30 or the 35, in that area. It used to be the 34 or the 35 because Tucker's range at that time was further out than it is now. I'm talking about on the first missed field goal. We're down 3-0 halfway through the first quarter. Lamar hits likely for 42 yards on a play action. Fake pitch to Henry. And then Henry gains 4 yards on a 1st and 10 from the Steelers' 33-yard line. It's now 2nd and 6 from the 29. I thought it was 2nd and 7 by my charting. But in any case, the next 2 plays, 2nd and 6 from the 29, we throw a slot fade and then a wheel. We're not playing situational football at all, in my opinion, that reflect. Now, granted, it's the middle of the first quarter, so you may say, well, Coach, we don't know at that point in time that the score is going to be 18-16. I agree. And yes, Tucker has to make that field goal. The first one I thought was 47 yards. We could have been better, however, on the 2nd and 6 and the 3rd and 6 to create a 3rd and 4 or potentially a 4th and 2. Am I advocating for running the ball in those situations? Yes. We have Derrick Henry. I'm not saying that every single time we give the ball to Derrick Henry is a positive play. The Steelers attacked him at times. We could also use him as bait, which kind of gets to the 2-point conversion, the failed one. Am I saying we should run the football on 2nd and 6? Absolutely. We should look at it. Or some type of safe play that isn't a slot fade trying to gain 15, 18 yards, or a wheel up the left sideline trying to get a touchdown. They have Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. Guess what the Steelers are probably doing on 2nd and 6 from our 29 when they're down 3-0 in the first quarter? They're running the football. They beat us. No, that formula isn't going to give shine to their quarterback and wide receivers other than Pickens. But in my opinion, they go into the game with a conservative mindset in how they're going to win. And as a result, those decisions are easy for them. We are haphazard. We are almost schizophrenic in those situations in that we don't play like we need to score points. We play like we have to score touchdowns because we're trying to win 34-21. I think that's a mistake. I've been calling that out for years. I understand there's larger issues other people want to focus on. I think this is a Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh issue. What percent of that should be applied to each guy? I don't know. I just feel like as a professional football coach, you should be able to recognize the quality of the defense you're going against and the fact that we're right at the edge of Tucker's reliability range. I don't think we should be worrying about slot fades or wheels to wide receivers when we're not in an area where Tucker can hit consistently right now. I don't think we learn. We don't. We probably will not. And again, maybe some of it is this all or nothing mentality that we have as an offense. I don't know. I'm just saying that when we're down near the 30-yard line and we know that Tucker's reliable distance is like 44 yards right now, maybe 45. Let's play for a 3rd and 3 or a 3rd and 4, and then a 4th and 2. See what we can develop. I think we're arrogant as coaches, and maybe we're too hungry at quarterback. It's a tremendously obvious pattern for me that I've noticed over the years, and it still holds in 2024. And we did it on the next possession. After the defense got a stop on the 4th down play run by Najee Harris on 4th and 1, we get to the 31-yard line. You want to know how? It's a 1st and 10, by the way, on their 31. You know how many carries Derrick Henry got down there? 0. You know how many option plays we ran with Lamar down there? 0. 3 passes, one of which is the very egregious defensive pass interference by Elliott. Is by Elliott on likely up the right hash. Then on the 2nd and 10, we have a screen pass that's blown up by Patrick Queen. 3rd and 10, another pass that was knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Their D lineman did a great job yesterday of getting their hands up to knock balls down. So 1st and 10, their 31-yard line. We throw the ball 3 times. End up with a 4th and 10. Tucker's field goal goes wide left. Does it suck that his range appears limited? Sure. Do he and Stout deserve blame? Yes. Should someone from our team go up to them on the sideline, get near to them and say, hey, you've got to start making some effing kicks or get off this field? Absolutely. Yes. Those guys need to be confronted. There needs to be some pressure put on. But there's also a possibility, another way to handle that, another layer to safeguard it. Maybe the professional football coaches who get paid millions to win games should operate as if, hey, the guy who's not consistently making 48-yarders, maybe we should set him up for a 45-yarder. Against the Steelers, on the road, one of the top defenses in the league from a scoring standpoint. Now, he did convert a 54-yarder in the 3rd quarter that got us to within 15-10, which goes against my point. Overall, I think the pattern I'm recognizing and pointing out is one that's gone on long enough. We recognize too late how we're going to win games. Meaning, I think we go into games, and it's fair with the way that our defense has played so far in 2024 to think about we may have to win this game 34-31 or 31-27. But our defense came out and balled out yesterday. I think it's a little bit of the same dynamic with Lamar and some of his underneath passes. It often takes him too long in games to realize, hey, we're open underneath. Let's take it on 2nd and 10. And I want to compare how our coaches kind of treat Tucker to how the Steelers' offense treats Russell Wilson. If they treat him in such as conservative a manner and get us a little bit closer, we possibly have 6 points at the end of the first quarter. Now, the one good thing, I guess, is Tucker's reliably missing to the left, just to the left, from that distance. So it stinks because of how much he's done for the Ravens over the years. But I think as coaches, they've got to stop thinking about the player name on the back. Oh, he'll fix it and he'll become the Justin Tucker that he used to be, and start planning for the production that we're actually getting on the field. Start playing to that. If they do that in the first quarter, I think we got a drastically different game. I've said that multiple times, and maybe it falls on deaf ears. Maybe you guys disagree because you hear so much bullshit from people about the modern game and how you've got to outscore people. Well, the Steelers beat us 18-16. I think it's going to require someone out in public calling out the team for not recognizing, and probably someone on the defensive side, but they don't have much standing at this point, calling out the offensive staff for not finding ways to get points on the field. Meaning we've got to recognize patterns. And until we recognize those patterns earlier, we'll continue to leave points on the board. When we had Donta Freeman at running back, or Kenyon Drake, or even J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards, I could almost understand it. But when we get down there to the 30, give that MFer the ball. Give him the ball. Yes, the Steelers did a good job of slowing him down at times. I don't think 2nd and 6 after a 4-yard run by Henry is enough of a failure to give up on running the football. If that's a Lamar issue, it's his decisions, then he deserves criticism too. I don't know who deserves most of the blame. I understand others may disagree, but hey, we just got beat by the same philosophy with an inferior quarterback and lesser talented running backs. Moving on a little bit, I don't think our 2-point play is well set up. It's pin pull pitch with Lamar. It's a run play. It's not a pass play. So we're pinning down and we're pulling the offensive lineman. We've run it once or twice this season. In this case, we went bunch and motioned across. Only the Steelers followed the motion with the slot defender. Joey Porter stayed, and no one gets out to him. Why? Aguilar misses his block. He's supposed to pin down on Herbig. Look, lately we've been 50-50 on that pin down block at the receiver position. I think we've got to do it with a tight end. The play is totally blown up by Herbig's penetration in the backfield because we're relying on a wide receiver to pin down on him. I think that Likely's got to be the guy, or Andrews, if we want to accomplish it with a high degree of consistency. And we just have not been lately. The tight ends can get it done. It was an 11 personnel grouping. In fact, I think we could do a better job with that play if that's what we want to run. I think Henry should be on the field to be used as gravity, but we went Justice Hill. I do have more points of complaints, and I recognize everyone will have their own, but this is the final drive by the Steelers. This is after our failed 2-point conversion play, and we don't onside kick. Fine, we have 3 timeouts. That's your decision. Najee Harris, no gain on 1st and 10, so we're looking good. The Steelers bring Justin Fields on late, mind you, and we don't identify it. We stack Kyle Van Noy in the box. It's like a pseudo 4-3 inside linebacker look, and it doesn't work. The X wide receiver cracks or pins down on Van Noy, and it's Skowernick or whatever, however you say his name. I mean, like, that dude's not in, just like when he played for the Rams, that dude's not in the game to get the football. He's in there to be a wide receiver from a positional standpoint, but really, he's a tight end. You got to, and we did actually treat him like another tight end a couple of plays. We went base defense with Skowernick on the field, or however you say his name. I really don't care. But thankfully, the Steelers aren't the smartest team in the world because Justin Fields slides down short of the line to gain. Our lack of awareness there with Fields in the game. He's not in there to just hand it off. We have negative awareness on defense. It's begun with the tight end opposite. You know who runs the same damn dual read play? We do. From the same exact formation with the tight end in the slot. This one was tough to handle for me because of how well we played defensively. I'm like, okay, we're going to be on top of either quarterback sweep, because it could be quarterback sweep, or any read option. Nope. Totally incapable of defending the read option. Credit to the Steelers for having that play in, holding it as long as they did. I'm sure Tomlin will get extra credit from many people that we couldn't recognize it. It's ridiculous that we can't look at it and say, hey, that's their option quarterback. And when he got in the game before, they ran the option with him. They've been extremely conservative with Russell Wilson. They're not going to throw the ball. Why don't we get in the receiver's face and get our edge defenders up on the line, put them in position to make plays? It's embarrassing to me on that particular play, that snap. I understand that some of you who have no experience at all coordinating a defense or organizing young men to try to put them in position to make plays will think that's as big a deal as I do, but it's unconscionable and dereliction of duty, in my opinion. I have to be honest with you, though. the defensive group showed up and played their asses off, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. I do have a gnawing feeling, however, that there's a certain percentage of it that is just due to the offense that we're facing. This isn't a Steelers team that is designed to score 30-plus points. They did actually score 30 points, average 30 points in the previous 3 games. They're playing well. They beat us. But nothing about them looks dangerous to me. And so I wonder if our defensive quality of play yesterday is going to carry forward. I sure hope it does. Sure hope it does. Hamilton and Ardarius Washington back there was a good look, and those guys play solid. Marlon Humphrey just continue to be Marlon Humphrey. The Steelers run a lot of screens, running back screens, tight end screens, off-play action, a lot of split zone or wind back runs. They're trying to protect the game flow and minimize the expectations for Wilson. That's what I saw live. Maybe it'll look different on film. Maybe your impression was different, but I saw them protecting Wilson from the standpoint of not expecting him to make decisions or make plays. I'm somehow less impressed with Pittsburgh after losing to them 18-16, which is paradoxical. Defensively, some of the guys that stood out, Roquan played like an animal. He was all over the place. Tre'Davious White obviously had an impact physically. He's a good matchup with Pickens on deep balls. He's athletic enough to stay with him. Pickens isn't going to run away from him, and he's physical enough to stand up. Drastic difference from what we've seen with Brandon Stephens over there. I think Roquan had 13 tackles. Oweh has 3 sacks. Actually, Oweh has 2.5 sacks officially. Almost another one. They whistled the play dead on the second and 4 that Pickens doesn't get his 2 feet down. Ardarius Washington, 11 tackles and a tackle for loss. Hamilton was present all over the place. It sucks that he's got to be used as a deep safety so much. Who the heck knows what's going on with our defensive secondary? If you don't think that there's some issues behind the scenes between the players and coaches, I don't know what to tell you. I do suspect that we're playing a lot of zone over there. I could be wrong. The All-22 film will come out later this morning. Wilson looked very hesitant to pull the trigger on his first read. They went to a lot of running back screens after we appeared to be changing coverages and giving them different looks and stuff just to get the ball out because Russell Wilson looked really frozen early on by whatever we were doing post-snap. I believe we finished with 4 sacks overall. Like I said, Oweh with the monster game. Marlon, the big interception, just a horrible decision by Wilson in the end zone. That was almost comical, the way he threw that football up. I believe it was 3rd and goal from the 5. It's 9.5 minutes left, and he throws an interception in a game where field goals are have you in the lead. If that doesn't tell you why the Steelers call some of their safer play concepts, I don't know what to tell you. Peyton Wilson's ridiculous interception followed that interception by Humphrey. That was a moment where it looked to me like, okay, we're getting ready to go down here and score and take the lead. I still don't know what to think. It was an uncanny play. Give him credit. I do have to tell you, I think that ball's underthrown. I think there's more space to throw it out in front of Justice Hill. Lamar's been really good on those running back wheels. They've been tremendously effective for us in the last 2 years. I think his throw brings the inside linebacker back because Justice Hill has to turn around. And I don't like pointing that out to you, but that's the way I saw it, and that's the way I saw the replay this morning when I got up and watched it. I wasn't able to record a reaction video last night. A couple of my kids were sick. So the weird thing about this game is, despite all the issues and the complaints that I have, I feel more comfortable about where we are after the loss. I know that you were not expecting that. Tucker's issues aren't going to get solved. We should prepare as if they're not. But we know his range, and we know where he misses. Get the ball to the right hash on 2nd down. However you've got to. And then if it's 3rd down and we throw an incomplete pass, the ball is in place and ready for him to go. Get him within his range of 45 yards. If he can't hit from 45 yards, it's time to start looking in other directions. And I do mean make him inactive and find someone else who you can trust. At some point, it has to be looked at of making a public situation out of it for him so that his pride comes into play and something changes. Is it a deal with him and Stout? I don't know, but the misses are consistent right now. And while that doesn't sound like a positive thing, I actually think it is. At least we know where the misses are. We know the range that we're missing from. I don't know if I find myself alone here that I'm not impressed by the Steelers' personnel. I am impressed by their commitment to the run game and being conservative in situations. I think that serves them well. We could go for a little bit of that in games like the ones that we had yesterday. Tomlin deserves credit. Their offensive coordinator deserves credit, serious credit, because it's not about always taking field goals. It's about getting yourself in a higher percentage area of the field. You can still be aggressive and try to outscore people if the game flow dictates that, if that's what the scoreboard shows. Well, the scoreboard never did show that yesterday. Even in 2024, there's something to be said for not turning the football over, playing good to great defense, and taking the points that are there. I think the second and third down play calls, once you're on the outskirts of field goal territory, has been an issue for years. It provides all the information we need about what a coaching staff thinks about how they intend to win the game. The Ravens' strategy and execution down there has been lacking for years, in my opinion. We used to be able to rely on Tucker to convert the 52-yarders, the 54-yarders. He did a 54-yarder yesterday, but now we can't. We've shown no ability to adjust or change course early in games. We recognize things too late. It's still the same season where Tucker's having issues. I don't know why we don't have a more high percentage opportunity on second and third down. If we do, we probably win this game 21-18 or 20-18, somewhere in that range. I get it. It's the first quarter, and some of you think it's unrealistic to expect our coaches to play for field goals. I think we should be trying to score touchdowns. But our play calls needs to get our guy, Tucker, into effective range whenever we can. Derrick Henry seems like the perfect guy to do that to me. I get it. The Ravens got a huge analytics department. I'm sure they're never wrong. They couldn't possibly be wrong with all the data they have access to, all the millions of dollars that are put into that franchise. There's no way our analytics department's ever wrong. All I know is there's a shit ton of film that shows us that these situations come back to haunt us, especially now in 2024, since Tucker's been more likely to miss 47-yarders than make them. None of us as Ravens fans are wrong for looking at the decision-making on the sideline and saying, on the other sideline, the Steelers sideline, saying, hey, I'm being a little bit envious. It might be boring. It might be unappealing to their wide receivers. It might not push Lamar into an MVP consideration, but 8-2 sure would look good. I think this loss, unfortunately, opens up a whole new set of possibilities in terms of record at the end of the regular season and especially in the near future. We got a road game against the Chargers next week. Then a home bout against the Eagles, who are trying to gain the NFC home field advantage. We've now brought 8-5, or even worse, 7-5 into play, 7-6 into play. And neither one of those roads looks like it leads to where we want this team to go. They got a lot of work to do. Even if they prepare well, I can't sit here now early Monday morning and guarantee you that the people in charge and the people on the field, Lamar Jackson included, are going to make solid winning football decisions in those moments of high pressure. Because once again, against the Steelers on Sunday, they didn't. Appreciate you guys' time, man. You have to let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. If you're somehow as frustrated as I am, yet think that the Steelers are not a threat to win playoff games, number one. Number two, not a team that I would favor against us, even if they come to Baltimore and win in the second matchup. They just don't look like a team that offers a tremendous amount of talent. Absent us playing a really messy football game with 3 turnovers, missing 2 field goals, making poor decisions as a coaching staff and players on the field, they still are only able to squeeze out an 18-16 victory. In any case, you guys let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this reaction, even though it's albeit a belated one, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.